Pedro. Won't be Hurricane Gulch today. Tomorrow we have some more potential. Unfortunately, I don't think it's really hot enough inland, but there we go. It's going to be an awesome day. Again, current's not going to be a factor. Usually current goes in and out of here pretty good inside the federal breakwater here. But not today. Very weak tides. Before race one, I'm going to predict these guys are going to do very well downwind, so we're going to be watching them quite a bit, see how they do. See the big curls once in a while, change of courses, change of course. This is just a quick look at how our sails are set up now in 3 to 5 knots. Maybe it's going to be 6 knots very soon. This boom is a little off center line. Not bad. Our jib's 2 inches inside the spreader. Jib's the same, main's a little more twisted. A little more wind coming in right now. See how you do that? You don't head up as you flatten the boat. The tiller's in the middle as you flatten the boat. A lot of people do this big head up as they're flattening on the acceleration. The problem you have is the jib is way more degrees off the center line. Look how far off the center line the jib is compared to the main. So the jib luffs when you head up to the mainsail angle. If you sail too high as you're accelerating, the jib will be luffing bad. Before race one, going to be a windward leeward course. This is the Dave Perry series in Southern California, named after America's foremost sailing coach, match racing coach, match racer, and PE teacher from the East Coast. But he's had impact on Southern California sailing for 40 years. Okay, so when I look at boats sailing from the committee boat end to the pin end, which is a power boat with a little flag on it, you can't see it right now. There it is. They are more close hauled going down the line. I don't know if you can tell, 7531, sails are tight, telltales are flying. So pin end is definitely favored. The weather mark is at 190 on the compass, and they just said the wind was 175-ish. Right now at the windward mark, 180-ish. So pin end's probably 10 degrees favored. I think they said the line was at 105. So man, no, the pin could be as much as 15 degrees favored. So if the line is 105, that would mean the wind would have to be 195 to be a square line. And we're looking at 180 at the very best right now. So 195 would be square to a 105 line, but we have 180. So we've got 15 to the pin right now. And then if we throw in a little curveball there, maybe it's 185 wind. Still 10 degrees favored. Look at 7632 going upwind. Okay, so goals for the regatta are really starting related and downwind related mostly. Downwind, board height, pole height, angle, and helm. How much weather helm do you have? For starting, we're just getting used to starting in a completely hardest starting that you will experience in you sailing. C420 sailing in the United States, and even C420 sailing in California. And it's just because, you know, all the good sailors, look at them. These are all the good sailors, and these are probably a lot of beef leaders. And we should expect a general recall. We have general recalls a lot in Perry series regattas because these are the best sailors and none of them are willing to get a bad start. One characteristic of a pin favor is that you can tell people are able to get onto port tack and get up to the line. You'll see a lot more tacking when the pin's favored. Yeah, they're already over by a long way down there. So this will be a general recall. And bye-bye. Race 1's second start. I flag was up. We have less than a minute. The race committee moved the pin boat back 3/4 of a boat length and moved the committee boat forward 1. And so now the line is a tiny bit more square. Probably I'm thinking 6 degrees, 7 degrees to the pin. There's 8880. This guy just broke the 1 minute rule. You cannot be that far over the line in the 1 minute rule at the parry. That's weak. What's this coach doing? This race committee is so good, you hear? 3, 2, 1, it's off. What's he gonna do? But you can't start at this end. Look how far behind 9310 is on 9050. Probably a good, it looks more than it is. It's probably a good 8, 7 boat lengths favored. And 9050 and those guys, they're not even at the pin end and they're 7, 8 boat lengths ahead of these guys. So you gotta be really careful on these long lines. Now I know why everybody was tacking. The wind was in a left phase and port tack is just way closer to the mark. Look at these guys that were kind of the leaders off from the left right here in the middle. That guy on port tack. And all those boats are doing the end around over there. They all got onto port tack and they're just doing the long tack. And if the wind goes right at all, it's a humongous gain because the long tack. So that's why everybody tacked early off the line, race 1. It makes a lot of sense. I was confused by why people were getting on the port. I wanted to work left, but then now I know why. The mark was at 200, I think, and the wind was at 185-ish. So port tack was closer to the mark. Now we should start to see the left getting a little more pressure coming in from this side. Let's see. So I would have got killed. I was the one talking about my game plan would be press left early. It looks like left is coming back okay at the end, but it seemed like this race was about getting on port right away and going. Here comes Kelly Holtis around in first.
Cabrillo, roger, roger. Yep. This is 40 yards.
See how they hoist before putting the pole up? Just get it up. Looks like Anton and Wyatt. I'm predicting he's going to be good downwind today. So let's see how he does in this race. He's got about a 15-second gap on second. On first, I mean. Oh, that's Anton and Wyatt, 9306. Oh, I think that's Harrison in second. Harrison and Alice, maybe. I don't think so. I don't know. I should know the numbers. Three to 5 knots, race 1 downwind. 9307 got rolled. Anton 9306 is the one that I'm really watching carefully. I think they've got some advantages downwind on people, and I just want to see how that goes. A little bit of heel to leeward. The poles are a little bit high. They're flying fine, so a high pole is really okay.
Call it off when you think it's right.
As long as the tack and the clue of the spinnaker are not way out of alignment with each other. They all look pretty much the same. takes a lot of practice to get good in this stuff. And Anton here in the black and white kite has worked forward of third a little bit. It looks like the wind has shifted south here a little bit. And so these boats over here, have actually gained. But again, to get good at this stuff, you got to see how the kite's flying way out there and high, and you got to get really good at flying kites. It takes a lot of practice. And you look at the pole heights of other boats and the crew positions and the mainsail positions, and the current looks very slack right now. No current at all, which is what we expected. Very little current this weekend. Gates are very close together, probably just the right amount. And then obviously this one is way further upwind. When you see him exit this, he's going to be going parallel to these gates. So that indicates if this was a starting line, you'd start on port tack at that end if you could. If this was a starting line, see how he's parallel to them? So these gates should be perpendicular to the wind, and they're not. No big deal. It's no big deal. Anton doing well here. He went from 4th to 2nd. The great story is Kevin and Holland 9307. I didn't realize that was them. This is their, one of their first Perry regattas. They rounded 2nd at the Weather Mart. My guess is if I look at the race committee flags is that it looks left wind, a little bit of left compared to what we had on the first beat. But great job. Here comes Kevin and Holland in 2, 4, 6, 8. That is a great job, guys. Race 1 was pretty good left shift, so you had to go port tack a lot upwind early. Kind of early middle was best. And then downwind, long starboard with a late jive, had to go low. It even shifted more to the south on the run, so come around the mark on starboard and just, if you had a crystal ball, you'd have known to sail low away from that shift. That's Anton there, I think, at the pin, and there's no current, so that's not too bad. There is the 1 minute rule in effect right away. Race 2, this is also the Pacific Coast Championship. This is the best sailors, the best youth sailors in the state of California. And 11 of these teams will regularly be top 15 to 18 at the biggest regattas in the country. The Orange Bowl, the North Americans, the Nationals. 11 of these teams consistently fill the top 15. Oh.
Six 580. Say again. 8915-9306 580.
Now what you do is just practice a little bit, double check the leech of your jib, kind of make sure you knew where it was, and go from there. Oh. (9307) Kevin got called. He's fast today though, dude. 9307's fast, but he got called. He didn't hear himself. Unfortunately, Jacob has to round an end. Okay, well I got into that video late, but pretty cool, man. Amazing racing. So we're gonna come around the back of the committee boat here, and you can see the lighthouse is actually about, you know, 2 boat lengths off the line. So you can use the lighthouse as your initial line sight, you know, just so you know you're well behind the line. Now I'm gonna work up to the line, and line sights are here are hard because the federal breakwater has nothing on it. It's just a breakwater of rocks. Okay, the line is right there. I'm still below the line, like a fraction right there. And you're looking at the lighthouse. And no, there's no line sag. So using a line sight in this fleet is really challenging unless the pin's favored by more. The line was definitely more square that time. Now, my compass bearing down the line is, I'll ask the race committee their head to win, but it was no further right than 180. And my compass bearing down the line is 100 degrees. So that means the pin was favored by 10. 190 would have been square on the wind, but the wind was probably 180. So we had a 10 degrees to the pin, and just conservatively 8 degrees to the pin. Now the biggest difference between race 1 on Saturday and race 2 is that the mark was straighter upwind. It wasn't off to the right. So there was no longer tack. If anything, starboard was longer. So you see a lot more people who just stayed on starboard this race because it wasn't as easy a choice. And so now these boats don't even have the angle they had on the upwind for race 1. So this is gonna be a really tight race with a lot more people close this time. This is gonna be super, super tight. The gate is gonna be really tight. Hopefully they've squared up the gates a little, and hopefully they've spread them apart a little. Race 2, first windward mark. Again, the course is just a windward leeward again. I love this. Double windward lewards are just not for kids a lot of the times. You know, I know these guys are good. There's no reason to do double windward lewards and 4 knots of wind. There's this whole backpack of kids that we're trying to keep in the sport. Just do 1-lappers, long 1-lappers, and looks like Reed Decker and Cam Spriggs coming around. First, Anton and Wyatt. I'm wrong on that. Third is 9050 Kelly Holtis, who won the first race. Kevin and Holland rounded in the top 10 again together. I think they've only done, I don't even know if Kevin's done a Perry Series Regatta, 13 years old. Most of these sailors you see here are 15, 16, 17. We probably only have about 10, 11 teams out of 46 that are under 16 years old. We'll see on the results. If you look on the results, you'll see the under 16 rankings on the results, but there won't be many. I'm gonna guess 13 under 16s, 11 under 16 teams. Good rotation on the kite there. Beautiful. Race 2, first run. See how the crew sits all the way against the shrouds in light air. The skipper can then sit back just a tiny bit behind the cleat so they can pull the main in and out without hitting themselves on the head repeatedly. But the skipper should still be sitting forward, but just not crazy forward, because you got to be able to pull the main in and out. And pretty much when they pull the spinnaker sheet in, you're pulling the main in. If the main luffs at all, you're pulling the main in. But the spinnaker sheet in will make the spinnaker luff. The spinnaker sheet in will make the mainsail luff a little usually. If it doesn't make it luff, don't pull it in very much. But if the main luffs, oh my goodness gracious. I don't know what place Anton rounded, but there was definitely more wind on this side of the course. And I think he can see the back sides of the mainsail. I'm gonna say 9306 is gonna round 1, 2, 3, 4. He can see the back side of the mainsail of everybody but the top 4. I'm gonna say he's gonna round 5th. And the marks are right here. So remember that. If you can see the back sides of the mainsails of the boats, then you're ahead of him. Like he can see the back of 9050, barely probably. So he's probably right with 9050. He just had a lot more wind over here. He's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yeah, he can't see the backs of the main. 6. He's overlapped for 7th is my guess. 9306. Now if I'm looking at the angles of the boats, I can't really tell. I think the right one is a little further upwind, but I think they're better than the last race. In race 1, the right one was way better for angle. And the left one turned out to be better for wind pressure. A couple of our team did the left one and they came around and somehow they just got their own little private wind in the middle. Kind of like the leaders did on port tack after the start of the first race. They did that same thing. They just had more pressure in a port tack lane. Yeah, left one looks a little bit further upwind. It's not dramatic. Race 2, first and second just went around simultaneously. And Anton's gonna round 1, 2, 3, 4. He's gonna round 5th, 6th. Yep, just like we thought. 5th or 6th or 7th. I think they're pretty square. The gates are pretty square to the wind, looking at the exit angles of these boats. If it was a starting line, I don't know where I would. And they're pretty close together, so it's not a dramatic difference. But if you have longer gates, you have to know. Less than 1 minute for race 3. And I had the line at 105, 104, 105. So let's say 105 on the starting line on the compass. You see people going on to port tack over there, dude. That means it can't be boat favored. You know, they're going on port so they can get up to the line. That definitely means that the pin's at least a little favored. 3, 2, 1, they're off. Beautiful start. Oh my God, this is the best sailors in Southern California, kids. This is where you get good. It can be a big hit to your ego to go into this fleet. I mean, that is just such a strong fleet. Harrison 9310 or 9610 at the pin. Wow, 5801. So I'd say the line was at 104, the wind was at 190. 194 would have been square. Should have been 4 degrees to the pin.
Any vessel on channel 72, can I get a radio check, please?
If you look at the angle of the boats coming off the line,
Oh, yeah.
I'm guessing it probably was about 4 degrees, no more than that, to the pin. And then we'll just have to see the boat that won the pin in. We'll just have to see how they're looking. Race 3, first windward.
Drop!
Kelly Holtis
You like this spot?
9150 in
You like this spot? I
second.
thought it was too deep.
Reed
You wanna stay
Decker
here?
in first. I think that was race 2. Was that the same thing?
Long
9006
Beach
round
or
first.
Newport on channel 72. Check.
9050 second. I see a couple new numbers in there. That was probably our windiest consistent beat at 6 knots. That it stayed like pretty close to 5 or 6 knots the whole time. And again, just super tight racing. If you want to get good going against these folks, trying to finish in your first year, trying to finish within 2 minutes of the leaders. Second year, you know, and have a good race thrown in there here and there. See how much everybody tends to reach. They get started on the reach and not dive low at all. Sail with extra pressure. Charlotte and Kristen. We're only in about 3 or 4 knots right now. Yeah, good rotation on the kite, and she didn't over-rotate it. See how she could see the kite the whole time. A lot of people over-rotate and let it go way out behind the jib. Very good. I think we hit a shift here. Because the kite's flying fuller after the jibe than it was going into the jibe. That's usually meaning port tack's, or the other tack's probably pretty good. This one's probably pretty good. Finish line of race 3. Windy enough now that the crew can help flatten the bow on the cats. So good video. We had Kelly Holtis. We had Anton in that video. There's Kelly. Anton's gonna get 4th in 9306. Nope, he's got 3rd. And then here comes Harrison, Cam, 11th, 10th, and 9th and 10th something, 10th and 11th. Cam crewing on 9006. Race 4, and there is more pressure on the left, or at least pretty good pressure, and pretty much the same race. I mean, these races are all very similar with shifts that occurred during the races. So you have to be on top of it. Look at 9307, dude. Oh. Gotta hand it to him, man. First Perry regatta, first and 420 regatta together. And they are just aggressive, so aggressive. That's super good. I mean, they're sticking it out there with 15, 16, 17-year-olds. Oh dear God, this was a IZ. Oh my goodness, what do you do now? 40 boats over. Who do you give the Z flag to? Looks very much the same. Looks pretty good. The Z and the I flag are up. That's Charlotte just broke the, just barely got clear on the Z flag right here. So not a lot of smart sailing in the last general recall, right folks? When the Z flag is up, that means you're gonna get a 20% penalty. 88 just got a 20% penalty. So I don't know how they handled it, but again, kids are kids. Sometimes you guys don't know what you don't know. You have to understand that in a Z flag, you keep the 20% even if there's a general recall. It's only a U flag where that all goes away if they have a general recall. Beautiful. really concerned with those guys down the line. They started late, like they were way off the
All
line.
clear this end on the Creo and it's R&D. All clear your end?
Way back. Everybody clear.
Race 4 leaders. First windward mark, race 4. It's a really gutsy move to do a jibe set underneath all those starboard tackers. So what you're going to see is that all the starboard tackers are just going to reach. And just get clear. If you think the wind is going to shift west, you keep coming this way. If you think the wind's going to shift south, you work low or you go the way that guy's going. It just takes a lot of time to get good downwind. You can see the spinnakers don't have a lot of pressure in them. They're always bouncing and wobbling and warbling. So it just takes time. One person asked me, well, how am I to go faster? I said, well, you just need to spend more time at it. And you got to come out here and sail in light wind and be able to fly that thing, never letting it collapse. You can see the leaders, their spinnakers just never completely collapse. They stay full, even if they're wobbling all over the place. Just windy enough where the crew can help flatten the boat and then slides back in. If it was lighter, the crew wouldn't help flatten as much or flatten at all and stays in the middle with their weight on their feet, with their weight really low on their feet.
Radio check, channel 72, Cabrillo.
It's like Kelly Holtis here has moved up to 3rd. Wow, he's having a big day. So I'm gonna say with one more race to go, I think Kelly Holtis is winning 9050.
Anyone else a little bit further?
Yeah, there was
I'm not sure who this is.
They didn't respond. They were.
So on the tacks, it's windy enough. Watch how they roll backwind a little. That was quite a bit of backwind. Both flatten. And then, there you go.
You copy that?
What I'm noticing is that anytime the boat heels to leeward at all, even in lighter than this, they're easing the main a little and then pulling it back in. Instead of moving their bodies very much. They get a puff upwind, they'll just ease the main a little bit and maybe lean on it a little and then trim right back in. Traveler height is crucial. It's been a good day. We got one more race to go. One thing we do in 420s is look at people's boom height. So as we come off the starting line on this start, I want you to look at the different boom heights. You're gonna see the boom heights are quite high, so that indicates that they're in their light air settings, and that's all the power of the boat up. That means we're raked forward, which powers the jib up mostly. It gives us more control of the leach of our main because the boom higher, the main sheet pulls more up and down on the main sheet, not as much in and out. But that's less than the fact that when we rake forward, the leach of the jib is a little more under control. When it's breezy, we rake the mast back, and that opens the leach of the jib. So that's what rake does. We've learned a lot today. Starting, what is going to be our game plan for the Coronado Yacht Club? Starting, I'm going to let you guys tell me tonight. What is going to be our plan for starts? How are we going to approach that Perry at the starts? My theory is 1/3 of the way from the favored end, depending on which side of the course is favored too. But still, I don't like the dead middle because there's no line sag in them in these 420 starts, these Perry starts. So if you start in the middle, you're already 50%. You're already behind pretty much 50 or 40% of the fleet. So I start, but we're going to talk about that. We've worked on downwind. We're working on board height. We're working on reducing weather helm. Downwind, trying to learn how to determine the helm and whoever can trim the spinnaker sheet the loosest goes the fastest. Whoever can trim it the loosest without luffing goes the fastest. And looking at boom heights, everybody's boom is above parallel. Look at all the good teams all the way down the line. So everybody's in their light medium setting. Yeah, this way here I'm filming and driving the coach boat all at the same time. Isn't that beautiful? No, that boat wasn't over. They were asking the pin boat of 8638 or whatever that is.
R&D, 8938 over.
Negative, he's back on the line and he did not go over the line.
So this race committee, they've been running this regatta for 30 years. I've known Don on the pin end there. Look at that start. Oh my God, Z flag start.
Don got clear.
It's clear.
9315. 9315.
The pin boat should call him. Oh. So that was one X flag. Make sure you don't turn around. That was one signal, but you always look for the committee boat. Make sure that the X flag is up. Obviously no Jamboree. Wow, that was spectacular skill right there. Just unbelievable skill of the whole fleet. Thing to remember about these regattas is most of these sailors are 15, 16, 17 years old. They've been doing this 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Maybe not many who've done 5, but definitely 4 years, 16, 17-year-olds. That was a good set. That was an amazing set. That was a good spinnaker set. Carefully watch the spinnaker set. Start and stop the video and watch them and see who gets their kites full and going. It makes a bigger difference in waves. When there's big waves, that's when filling your kite quick makes a humongous difference, because you can actually catch waves and get away from the boats behind. So everybody, again, and we're learning this about these big 420 regattas, the leaders have to reach quite high. You'll notice that they're going quite fast now. And then as we get later in the video, you're gonna see how much slower VMG they're sailing. But it's just a matter of protecting your air, and they're trying to talk each other down. You know, they're talking to each other. Come on, go down, go down. They're trying to get people to just cave. And yeah, here they go. Now they start to dive a little. So you really have to reach a lot. Look how good this looks. Jib's loose. Spinnaker's up high, the pole and clew are even, the tack and the clew, I mean. The two corners of the spinnaker are even. Pulls the main in, then lets it out slow a little. This is one of the best puffs of the day for them. Now this boat's going to try to soak. But he's in a position, he's going to get jibed on by Walter here. Cool, this is awesome. What a day. Getting down to the last videos for Saturday. So windiest race we've had. You see how that's the first time somebody's been able to fly their kite that high. You don't really worry about the spinnaker pole touching. I mean, that just means raise the pole up higher, but you don't need to worry about that pole. The corners of the sail are even. This guy's got the main out. This guy has the main in a little more and is heeling a little more. This is Walter, he's pretty darn good. He's an under 16. Harrison and Alice right here. When you come out of your jibes, you have to fill the jib. You have to come out and watch the jib. The jib has to blow out like that. So on your jibes, you steer by the jib. If the jib's right in the middle after the end of the jibe, it means you're dead downwind and the spinnaker just sucks behind the main. Okay, anyway, well, it's been a good day. I think the fleet looks like pretty strong right now, and now the wind's like 7 knots. Having an easy time. I think that's it for today. We'll see you Sunday. Forecast for tomorrow is more west.